Hello, many thanks for joining us. You're watching Up If I Don't Do Stay with us. Ethiopia urges its global partners to show support for democratization in the nation. Ministry of Government Communication Service, in a statement, underlined that there is no possibility for equivalence between a democratically elected government and terrorist groups and non-state actors that continue to cause violence and destruction across our country. The government of Ethiopia was chosen through free and fair elections, the statement said, adding the government is responsible to keep all citizens safe and will never waver in such a responsibility. Global partners shall stand with Ethiopia's democratic process, the statement added. People in different parts of Ethiopia have been staging rallies to protest against the two terrorist groups, TPLF and OLF. Demonstrators say they are ready to join the Ethiopian National Defense Force to demolish the terrorist TPLF and OLF once and for all. Habtam Washagwe tells you more.
This is a public demonstration to condemn the evil acts of TPLF cliques and OLF. Residents are coming from Jima zone and its neighboring districts. The demonstrators say they have huge support to the Ethiopian National Defense Force and showed interest to join the army so that they can demolish the terrorist groups that want to endanger the sovereignty and territorial integrity of Ethiopia.
I want to express my stance in this public demonstration to fight against the terrorist TPLF and OLF that is threatening my country's unity. I am ready to stand together with our defense force to demolish these anti-peace elements. We're coming together here to express our readiness to support Ethiopian National Defense Force to dismantle the TPLF mafia and OLF. We're also ready to restore peace in the country to maintain the unity of our motherland, Ethiopia, without any difference by standing together with our premier. Everyone in this demonstration is ready to wave our flag high once again as a sign of great nation with great people.
የኢትዮጵያ ሕዝብ በሉዓላዊነቱ የማይደራደር መሆኑን ለማሳየት በሰላማዊ ሰልፉ ላይ መገኘታቸውንም ነው የተናገሩት።
Reflecting on the issue, Oromia State Chief told OBN that the tourist PLF is a failed party due to its strong character.
ወያኔ ጸረ ኢትዮጵያ ሆኖ የተወለደ ጸረ ኢትዮጵያ ሆኖ ያደገ ጸረ ኢትዮጵያ ሆኖ አሁንም እየሞተ እየተቀበረ ያለ ኃይል ነው። ወያኔ ማለት አራት ነገር ነው። አንደኛ ፍጹም የራሱን የበላይነት ማረጋገጥ ማለት ነው።
Wayane or TPLF was born and grew as an anti-Ethiopian entity, and now it is ending as an anti-Ethiopian. Wayane has four major characters. First, they have been striving to restore its supremacy. Second, they are working to suppress all Ethiopians under its divisive ideology. Third, they are masterminded mass looters of Ethiopia. Fourth, they want all Ethiopians to stop questioning about rights or democracy, otherwise no one can live with them. These four core principles are the terrorist TPLF implementing in Ethiopia during its 27-year Iron Fist rule.
እነዚህ አራቱን ነገር ማከል ያደረገ ነው። ባለፉት 27 ዓመት እነዚህን ነው ለመተግበር የሞከረው።
Shimelis remarked that alliance with TPLF is shameful and would be historically wrong. The wider public wave had overthrown the TPLF regime in Ethiopia 3 weeks ago.
ሀገራችን የምንወድሽ ለጅብ ይሁን እንጂ ለአሞራ ስጋችን አንቺ ስትደፈሪ ይፈሳል ደማችን ተከብረሽ ኑርሺው በአባቶቻችን ደም በአባቶቻችን ደም እናት ኢትዮጵያ የደፈረሽው ደም የደፈረሽው ደም አንድ ላይ ተከብረሽ ኑርሺው በአባቶቻችን ደም በአባቶቻችን ደም እናት ኢትዮጵያ የደፈረሽው ደም የደፈረሽው ደም ተከብረሽ ኑርሺው በአባቶቻችን ደም በአባቶቻችን ደም በአባቶቻችን ደም እናት ኢትዮጵያ የደፈረሽው ደም የደፈረሽው ደም
Welcome back. A Pan-African media outlet says Ethiopia has fought colonialism and challenged neo-colonialism. Currently, the state is fighting proxy colonialism. The nation's unity is decisive to African unity, the article says. Take a look. Major Western media outlets are full of lies and omissions when it comes to their reporting on foreign countries. The Ethiopian-American journalist Hermela Aragawi made this remark in her interview with Breakthrough News. Shifarao Lagor presents the story as follows.
The Ethiopian-American journalist Hermela Aragawi spent some time with Breakthrough News, outlining the Western media propaganda and ways of debunking the media lies fueling conflicts in Ethiopia. Asked about her opinions as to why these media, especially those in the USA, are so biased toward TPLF, she has the following to say.
Well, my guess is that the U.S. is going with their old partner, right? TPLF was their partner for a very long time, from 91 to 2018. That was the group that led the coalition that ran the country. I'm sure there's a lot of personal relationships, a lot of financial gains that are made between partners, although I can't necessarily speak to specifics on that. But clearly there is an alliance, a beneficial alliance for those two groups.
The journalist, who has been in the business for 10 years, also says the major Western media outlets reporting about foreign nations are full of lies, breaching journalistic principles.
I gotta tell you, I will never again take at face value any report from the New York Times, AP, CNN, even Reuters or the BBC about any foreign country. I can't do it. There's just been so many bold-faced lies and omissions in the reporting that you can't even call it journalism at all. It's purely propaganda.
She also elaborates on TPLF dictatorship and intimidation on people trying to speak out the realities.
It just can't be true, logically speaking. It doesn't take a genius, right? It can't be true that this war is started by this group and that they're not responsible for any crimes and are always victims in every scenario, right? And so what makes this also frustrating is, though, because I am ethnic Tigrayan, people are particularly upset about my questioning and having this perspective, because this country has and people blame TPLF, and it may not be true that their blame is on them, but you can tell, it's evident that the lines are really drawn. All Tigrayans appear to think this way, although there's a lot who also speak out, and then they actually can't speak out. Even me, being in the United States, so-called free, etc., whatever, right? Me asking those questions literally got a swarm of people from across the world to try to intimidate me to stop. So I can't imagine what people in the country, or particularly in that region, they're not able to question the decisions that are being made that affect them.
The Ethiopian-American journalist of Tigrayan descent, Hermela Aragawi, has been relentlessly attacked and smeared for calling out biased media reporting on the conflicts.
ሀገራችን እየተበጠበጠ እናት ወንድሞቻችን እየተገደሉ ምናምን አይተናል እና እኛ እሱን ለመቅረፍ ነው የመጣነው ከእናት ሀገሬ ፊት ለፊት ሆኜ ለመዋጋት ሀገሬን ለማስከበር የመጣው ኢትዮጵያ መሆናችን በጣም ስለምኮራ ወደዚህ አካባቢ መጣነው ወደ መከላከያ ሰራዊት የተቀላቀልነው ማለት እናት ሀገራችንን ለማዳን ኢትዮጵያዊነት ለኔ ኩራቴ ነው ግርማ ሞገሴ ነው መካበታለሁ በኢትዮጵያ በመሆኔ በጣም ደስ ይለኛል አባታችን ወታደር ቤት 18 ዓመት አገልግሏል ሻለቃው ነው ከዛ መጥቶ ነው እኛ ያሳደገ እኛ ተወልደን እሱ ወታደር ቤት ያገለገለ ነበር ለእናት አገር ብሎ ይሄ ሁሉ ሰራዊት እያለ ደግሞ ሀገራችን አትወድቅም።
Senior water expert dubs GERD's initial power generation a milestone for Ethiopia. He also underscored that Egypt and Sudan's negotiation proposal of forcing Ethiopia to sign a binding agreement on GERD aims to snatch Ethiopia of its water rights. Goshu Melliso has the full account.
East Africa's mega hydropower project, the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam, is set to start early power generation this year, despite concerns from Egypt and Sudan. Talking to ETV, water resource engineer Truso Asafa said early power generation allows regulated water flow to downstream countries, and it is a milestone in GERD construction.
It means a lot. Right now they are about 80–83%. When they start to generate, a couple of things happen. One, they can send power to the national grid, which is already done. Second, they will be able to control the water that goes to downstream countries. So right now, if you see the water is going on the top of the structure, so if they are able to pass it through the turbine, then they can control and lower the middle portion, and they can raise it quick. So from now onward, it's going to be faster way of in terms of construction. So that's a big milestone.
Russo underscored that Egypt and Sudan's negotiation proposal of forcing Ethiopia to sign a binding agreement on GERD and the Abai River can leave Ethiopia with zero water share.
What they are proposing is Ethiopia would sign an agreement that will allow water to flow forever with 0% share for Ethiopia. In other words, Ethiopia will not be able to expand agriculture upstream of the GERD as well as use for water supply. I work in a water supply, for example, industry, and we expect that significant amount. It's not like the irrigation, but the significant amount Ethiopia needs too. So it's not about binding signing itself. The other thing I think people need to know is that GERD is just only one sub basin. You can't agree water sharing agreement on only one of the sub-basin. You have to look at the entire basin and see how much water is, first of all. They don't want you to know even how much water is within the entire Nile basin. So for Ethiopia, it doesn't make sense at all, binding agreement, especially the proposal they put forth simply binds Ethiopia, and we won't be able to do irrigation expansion or water supply.
As long as Egypt and Sudan have enough water, they will not be affected whatever amount of water Ethiopia uses to fill its dam, he added.
The issue is not about filling, by the way, because if we see the downstream countries, first of all, Sudan, Ethiopia is releasing enough water for Sudan. Egypt has water, their dam is full. In fact, it's the highest in 30 years. So not only the second filling, the third filling, all the way the first filling, which we call up to 74 billion cubic meter, will not impact at all. But the issue is that they want to use GERD now to bind Ethiopia to sign an agreement that will not let Ethiopia to use anything except GERD. That's it. That's the issue. But otherwise, they know there is enough water right now. GERD will not have any impact in terms of filling it.
The scholar urged all Ethiopians to strengthen their support to finalize the dam and extricate the country from poverty.
Ethiopia is discussing with U.S. senior officials to settle the U.S. wrong decision of banning Ethiopia from AGOA. Creating awareness among the U.S. officials about what is exactly happening in Ethiopia is vital. In his phone conversation with ETV English, senior policy advisor to the Prime Minister of Ethiopia, Mamo ምህረቱ, said efforts are well underway to discuss certain conditions set by U.S. government. Listen to him.
First of all, I think it should be clear that the Biden administration didn't ban Ethiopia. What they said was Ethiopia will likely be delisted from AGOA beneficiary status by January 1, 2022, if certain conditions are not met. Because the decision doesn't have immediate impact. The decision will materialize by January 1, 2022, if certain conditions are not met. So we are currently discussing and engaging with the U.S. Government officials to try to address these concerns. And we are hopeful that, if they agree, then there will be a possibility that, Ethiopia will still continue to benefit from AGOA. But we cannot say that for certain, but we are still discussing with the U.S. government officials.
According to Mamo, Ethiopia has not been violating the basic human rights that would result in cancellation from AGOA eligibility.
Well, they mention a number of issues. They're essentially what they're arguing is, for a country to benefit from AGOA, which is a trade preference regime, and which is a unilateral trade preference regime given by the U.S. government to sub-Saharan African countries, they argue that certain kind of requirements needs to be met or established. And one factor that they repeatedly mention is that the country must not engage in gross violation of internationally recognized human rights. Our argument has been, if one looks at all the requirements to benefit from AGOA, and if we objectively look at it, and if you compare it against Ethiopia's progress in the past 3 years, Ethiopia has never been as qualified as it is today in meeting the eligibility requirements to benefit from AGOA. As you know, we've working really hard to build a market-based economy. We've expanded the space for private sector participation, which was an important criteria to benefit from AGOA. And this we have done over the course of the past 3 years, and which is qualitatively different from the practices and the policies of the previous government. So our argument has been, most of the criteria, most of the requirements to benefit from AGOA have been met. Even the issue of respect for human rights is something that the Ethiopian government takes seriously. We don't condone any violation of human rights. And to the extent there is an accusation or an allegation of violation of human rights, we actually do the necessary investigation and take corrective actions. So that has been our argument, and on that, there is significant difference of views, but we are hopeful that we'll still engage with the U.S. government officials and come to some sort of resolution at some point.
Government is working to minimize impact of U.S. decision, which might affect over 1 million citizens, Mamo explained.
Well, we're consulting, very closely with investors, with manufacturing companies operating in industrial parks in different parts of the country. It's our duty to protect their investment. It's our obligation to make sure that, workers, particularly women, young workers who are employed in industrial parks, are not significantly affected because of this action. And we're developing a number of policy measures that would still, maintain the Ethiopian manufacturing industry as competitive as it is today. We are seeking alternative market for Ethiopian exports. It's not just the U.S. I think we can look at the African market, for example. And as you know, we just ratified the African Continental Free Trade Agreement, which opens, market close to $3 trillion US dollar, and we can actually take advantage of the opportunities that's available within African continent. We're also working to reduce production costs for the manufacturers, here in Ethiopia. So, and we're taking and designing additional measures. So, if the U.S. government decides to delist Ethiopia from AGOA, we believe we can take a number of measures that would support the manufacturing sector, the export sector, and then really protect the investment and the workers who are employed currently in the different industrial parks throughout Ethiopia.
Welcome to Blantyre, Malawi's second biggest city, with an estimated population of 1 million inhabitants.
And finally, South Africa entered new political territory on Thursday as most voters turned against the ruling African National Congress for the first time in the democratic era. The ANC won 46% of the ballots cast nationally, down from 54% in the last municipal elections 5 years ago. It is the first time the party of Nelson Mandela has received less than half of ballots cast in any election in the continent's most industrialized nation. But President Cyril Ramaphosa and his party officials put on a brave face. Ramaphosa attended the official results declaration ceremony in Pretoria, reminding elected officials to make this chance a new and better era, as well as put aside differences and work together in a spirit of partnership and common purpose. Opposition DA leader John Steenhuisen described the election as a game changer. But the results also highlighted the deepening of South Africa's democracy, moving past from the dream of a rainbow nation and into the reality of balancing myriad competing interests. Over the last 15 years, the ANC's popularity has declined sharply. You're watching Addis News Hour. A quick reminder of the day's headlines.